It started like any other day. I was in the park playing Pokémon GO, trying to catch the latest virtual creatures. More people were out than usual due to it being Community Day. That is when I met her, Jess. She looked reserved, had an easy smile, and we struck up a conversation during a Pokémon raid. She seemed a little too eager, asking way too many questions, but I didn't think much of it. After all, I was used to meeting weird people in this hobby. She was really knowledgeable about the game, though, advising me on the best Pokémon to power up. From there, I started bumping into her more often, wherever I went. The gym, the park, Walmart, small world, I thought. Inevitably, we exchanged numbers and began meeting up to go on evening Pokémon hunts. After a few weeks, I introduced her to my friends. At first, they were skeptical, but later warmed up to her, except Sarah.
There is something off about her.
But I figured she was just being dramatic, petty even, after Jess beat her in a Pokémon battle. Weeks went by and I started noticing that my friends were distancing themselves. I didn't understand why, but it left me with more and more time to spend with Jess. Eventually, it was just me and Jess, always together, always talking, always playing. She was always there, always available, and always saying the right things. One evening, after a long Pokémon hunt with Jess, I felt a sudden sense of unease as I walked home through the park. The sun had set and the park was eerily empty. Then, I saw Jess leaning against a tree near the entrance, staring at her phone. Strange. She had left an hour ago for a family emergency. Why is she still here? I waved, but she didn't respond. I walked closer, and that's when I noticed something disturbing. She wasn't playing Pokémon. She wasn't looking at her phone at all. Her eyes were fixed on me, but there was something cold in them, something dark. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from Sarah. Get away from her. She's not who you think she is. Before I could respond, I heard Jess's voice behind me. You have no idea how long I've waited for this. I spun around, my heart racing. She took a step closer. I backed away, my heart beating out of my chest, but just as Jess lunged towards me, I heard someone shout, "Hey!" I turned to see it was Sarah, sprinting towards us, her face flushed with urgency. She wasn't alone either. My other friends, the ones Jess thought she'd pushed away with her lies, were with her. Jess froze. Sarah's voice rang out, commanding, "Back off, Blair!" Blair? Who the hell was Blair, I thought, and for the first time I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. Jess took a step back, her hands shaking as if the grip on her delusions were slipping. "This isn't over," she muttered before disappearing into the night. "You're safe now," Sarah said, pulling me away from the park.
I told you to be careful with her. I knew something was off the moment her Meowth beat my Pikachu.
Sarah briefed me on the way home. Jess was a drifter, a creep, invading local Pokémon communities, isolating single men and then harassing them for her pleasure. Her real name, Blair. And there were multiple threads about her on Facebook. Looking back, I could hardly believe how close I had come to losing everything. Blair, had turned what should have been a fun hobby into a nightmare. I blocked her number and for months refused to go out. I stopped playing Pokémon GO entirely. Instead, I became obsessed with a new Pokémon game. Pokémon Pocket, a game I now play in the safety of my own home, alone.